Okay, well, as you guys know, our last speaker is Jason Rubin. He's the president and co-founder of Naughty Dog. Believe it or not, he's been developing games for 19 years, which is kind of hard to believe since you're, what, 25? Oh, 34, sorry. And Naughty Dog has created two of the best-known franchises in video games. Crash Bandicoot, of course, everybody knows, and more recently Jak and Daxter. Naughty Dog's games have sold a staggering 30 million copies, and that actually doesn't even include Way of the Warrior sales, which I think were, 2 million. Jason, I've known Jason for a long time. He's a guy for whom I have a lot of respect, and I'm definitely proud to call a friend. Jason?
This is going to be a very interesting speech. This is something that's been brewing in my mind since E3 last year. Before I start, it's obviously an odd topic and an odd start. I want to say two things. First of all, I don't know Tara Reid, and I have nothing against her personally. I'm going to use her as an example of a greater group of people. But in all honesty, if Tara Reid's in the audience, please don't rush the stage, because I do have nothing against you. The second thing is I'm taking the AIS at its charter, and its charter is to elevate the art. So if I offend you in what I'm about to say, and this will be a pretty harsh speech, then understand that I am doing what I believe this conference should be, which is trying to elevate the art of making video games. One of the questions at the end of the last session I heard, the person asking said that we have not reached the level of entertainment of Hollywood. And that is exactly why I'm here, because I believe that that is a very dangerous statement. And I don't think it's true, first of all. If you look at somebody who plays a game for 20 hours, it's 20 hours of entertainment. We're selling a lot of those, the number of hours played in games. And I'd like to see this art form become an art form. I was actually called by the LA Times and asked, is video games an art form? That's how far we have to go. Is video games even an art form? So this started brewing in my mind at E3 last year. Sony threw a bunch of parties. One of the parties they threw was at the Vice Room, and it was for celebrities only. I was asked by a local high school tennis coach whether I was going. He had gotten an invite through the promoter who he knew. It's a Hollywood thing. He was one of the quote-unquote celebrities. Whether I was going. He's a good friend of mine. And I said, well, the Sony party on Thursday? No, this is the Wednesday and Friday one. And I thought, gee, that's kind of odd. You know, I work for this publisher. I've sold 1 in 8 titles, or 1 in 8 of their titles has been something I worked on. And I don't know about it. And it's at E3, which is a developer period. I did end up getting invited the day before. I was told that I should feel lucky. I was asked to stand in line to get my invite because I hadn't been thought of before that. I went through a metal detector. Tara Reid did not. And that got me thinking. So I talked this year to a lot of people, publicists. My brother works for Entertainment Tonight. He sees this from the other side. He walks the lines that they're walking back and forth on. You're going to see a lot of backgrounds with a lot of logos. He's the guy on the line. So I know him personally now for 30 years. Spoke to him, spoke to celebrities, I know a few. Spoke to people in the industry, spoke to developers. And this is what I realized in that year of thought. We're at a turning point right now. And the question is, what is the game developer's place? This is a Joysticks poster from 1983, a terrible movie. But are we going to be the guy in the box? Or are we going to be the guy out of the box? And that decision is going to come in the next few years. First of all, this is not a talk about parties, but I will use that to show a greater problem. There are 4 points I want to get across. The first is that video games are currently sold like packaged goods. I will explain that. Talent is not respected. The second thing is video games are a talent business. We are a talent business, not a packaged good business. Product development is the talent. And I say product development because that includes people that work at publishing houses. So when I say publisher, I generally don't mean the people working on product at publishers. So if you're a developer at EA, that doesn't mean you're part of the publisher. To me, there's a division that's happening here, and I'll explain that more. The other thing is, if the business doesn't change, talent suffers. And bottom line, I think the whole business suffers. I think that's a weaker argument, but I do believe it to be true. And the last thing is that talent has to force the change. Talent has to rise up. This is a revolutionary speech for me. I've come to a certain extent, the end of my limit on the respect that the developer gets from certain segments of the industry. The fist is not a mistake in these slides. All right, first, video games are currently sold like packaged goods. Talent is not respected. What are packaged goods? Packaged goods are very familiar to you. I have a list of some of them here. The important thing is that the package is more important than the good. The difference between a Prada purse and a $5 sack that you can buy at Whole Oats is not how well it carries things. It's the attachment you have to the purse through celebrity, through marketing. Marketing makes that purse valuable. Its actual use is no better or worse. The same is true of vodka. They basically taste the same. Certainly Smart Water is not terribly different from Evian. Blind taste test, how many of you can pick the difference? It's the attachment and the marketing that makes those brands special. Clorox bleach is chemically identical to regular bleach, yet you'll go spend more on Clorox. That is a packaged goods business. It is a very viable, realistic, true way of marketing something if it's a packaged good. Branding is far more important than content in those industries. In fact, often they're selling something you don't even really need. An attachment is extremely important. That's why they trot out celebrities. That's why they place it in movies. That's why they get their name out there as much as they can to get it in your head so when you see that brand on the shelf, you pull it off. Market share changes over years in this industry. A 3% increase in Coke over Pepsi is gargantuan, a huge coup for Coca-Cola. Our industry's not like that. Our industry follows the talent model a lot more, and I've listed a couple talent publishers at the top here. The quality of the content that they sell is what makes you go buy what they're selling. It's not so important if it's a Marvel comic. It's who wrote it, who drew it, what's the character, who's in it, the content, right? Universal Studios spends no effort with the idea that Universal Studios makes the best movies, because it's crap. They make everything from crap to cream. So does TriStar, so does everybody else. And they realize that the way to sell to you is to say, you're going to like what's in it, you're going to like who's in it, and you're going to like who did it. And that's the difference between those two brands. It's selling what's in it and selling the aura of it. Effort is spent in those industries, therefore, publicizing the talent. And this is what's not happening in our industry right now, which brings me to Tara Reid. Tara Reid apparently is a future game developer, best I can tell, because Sony Computer Entertainment and everybody else in the industry is spending a lot of effort courting her. So the question is, why? Well, here's Tara Reid broken down into 5 bullets, best I can do. She's very cute. She loves to party. I've actually been at parties with her. She's a great partier, better than me, by far, no doubt. You want to party her? Go for Tara. When she's not partying, she takes time to act. She may be good, she may be bad, but she definitely acts. She's a big celebrity. There's no doubt that. People recognize her face, they don't recognize my face. In 2003, SCA threw 4 parties for her and her friends at the Hamptons. PS2 second anniversary, which, I don't know, I sold a lot of games. I didn't even know it existed until afterwards. Sundance, things like that. We got one catch-all party at E3. Thousands of people were invited to that party, and yet a lot of developers sitting in the audience right now called me for invites. And I kind of felt lucky to get an invite. There were a lot of junior PR and legal people there. Apparently they're more important than the developer. For Sony Computer Entertainment, I don't get it. What they should be doing is they should be saying, Lauren Lanning makes great games for Xbox. We should get him at every event we do. Not because he's going to make games for us, but just to remind him we exist. There are a lot of other people out there that don't work on games for Sony. They should be courting those people. That's what Hollywood does. And it makes sense for Hollywood to do it. Why doesn't it make sense for us to do it? Hollywood can't get away with disrespecting their talent like that. They simply can't do it. If Steven Spielberg calls up for a premiere, he had nothing to do with it. Or actually, this person's person calls up. So Mr. Spielberg would like to attend. Absolutely. How many people would he like to bring? But that's how Hollywood acts. Why? Why do they understand that talent has that value? Working on a Spielberg movie will make Universal Studios have a better year than not, on average. Why don't we get that? Where is the value? Is it me, 1 in 8 units of Sony Computer Entertainment's lifetime software I worked on? Ted Price, president of Insomniac Games. He's generated more revenue for SCA than any independent company. Alex Sorokin. I mean, come on, he works on great Xbox games. Wouldn't you love to have him working on PS2? It doesn't have to be a Sony person. Wouldn't you love to have him, at your parties, involved with you, meet him, greet him, try to slowly get him to work with you? Ray and Greg, massive developers. Dave Perry, who's actually working with Hollywood.